How you doing, sir? Good to talk to you. Sorry, it's been a bit since we've talked about Auburn football, but it has been quite busy. And when you're scoring 73 points in a game, which is unheard of these days for Auburn football, it keeps you quite busy.
Yeah, I can't say that I or most people know anything about that game other than the score. That's about it. And then I expect that the box score was impressive, but
Oh yeah.
73-3, obviously, nobody's checking in on Alabama A&M.
No, nobody's checking in on them. We had a few Alabama and A&M fans trying to say that they were going to expose us this past week, and they did expose us, just in the opposite way. They exposed that Auburn seemingly has a capable offense. I grant you, it's against FCS talent and all that part of the discussion. We don't ignore that, but let's enjoy it, folks. This is an Auburn team, an Auburn program that has struggled to have strong offensive plays, strong offensive stats for years now. And when you break a record for 6 passing touchdowns across 2 different quarterbacks in one game, there's a lot to celebrate as long as you keep it in the proper context of everything.
Kyle Loomis here from E2C Network to break down the Auburn Tigers stepping out of conference at home this year. They played Cal last year, squeaked through with a win on the road on the West Coast, and now they've got a date against the SC or the ACC Cal Golden Bears. So it's another SEC ACC matchup, but one we didn't necessarily see coming.
Right.
All right, so you make the point that while this is what Auburn should do, this is not what everyone does.
Right.
So at least they went out and looked like what a top team does, as we looked around the SEC and saw a lot of 50s and 60s against a lot of zeros and threes. And Auburn was one of those. So at least they took care of business in the fashion that you would expect. All right.
Yeah. You definitely hope that you go out and look like you're an FBS school that's taking on an FCS school. Now, granted, every once in a while, and I saw a stat yesterday that an FCS school has beaten an FBS school for every year consecutively for a while now. So thankfully, Auburn's not that statistic, but it's on the statistic that's most common, just taking care of business against them. Yeah, look, the freshman wide receivers, wow, just just wow in their debut. Ironically enough, we're talking about Cam Coleman at wide receiver, Perry Thompson. Those two should be names most people that are recruiting junkies should be very well aware of, and the escapades and the process that led to them flipping to Auburn from Alabama and Texas A&M. But probably the guy that we're most interested in, whether we're talking about last game or going forward because of how he contributed offensively and special teams, is Malcolm Simmons. Had a passing touchdown, but also was on special teams and picked up, I should say, a blocked kick to essentially get into the end zone and score a touchdown as well. So he's displaying speed, athleticism, and capability as we expected out there at the wide receiver position. So I think he walks away as the freshman wide receiver phenom more than anybody else that day.
Well, Kyle, we've got another guest coming in, but we want to get your quick take on what to expect, what to look out for. Again, this was an Auburn team that barely skated by
Yep.
Cal last year,
Yep.
but it's at home in the friendly confines. Cal expects to have somewhat of a similar team than what they had last year.
Yep.
So what are you looking for?
Think it's funny that you slipped up, as I have, calling it, Pac-12, or it's weird just saying ACC with Cal. So that's obviously a little bit fun we've been having with the Cal fans this week. I am looking for this to be a much different game, not in the way that I think we will dominate, although I think eventually the confines of Jordan-Hare will be way too much for the Cal Golden Bears. They obviously have a new quarterback in Mendoza, and their former quarterback who gave us so much trouble last year, Sam Jackson, is now our wide receiver who caught a touchdown in game one for us, one of the many that did. So what I'm expecting out of this game is for it to be a relatively close one for the majority of the game. I do expect Auburn to, even if they don't score first, reclaim the lead fairly quickly and hang on to it throughout the course of the game. I do expect Cal to make a couple of swings here and there to keep it fairly close, maybe within a score. But by the end of it, I think it's just going to be too much for the Cal Golden Bears to come into Jordan-Hare and not make a few mistakes in the environment that the Auburn faithful will give to them. And you couple that with the talent that's been out there in game one, as we've seen, and what I can say looks like revamped and ready to roll Peyton Thorne. It's a potent mix for anybody, but the Cal Bears, I think, are going to suffer a little bit by the end of this.
Auburn's roughly a 2-touchdown favorite at home, taking on Cal, I believe 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central, ESPN 2.
ESPN 2.
Yes. Okay. Kyle, enjoy. Everybody check out Kyle's work, the rest of the crew there. E2C Network. It's not just Auburn football, but the entire Auburn community, Auburn culture, Auburn everything.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate
War
it.
Eagle.
Have a good day.
You too.